place. Da-na-na-na, Mac and Perry, go live to create. Da-na-na-na, Mac and Perry, invite you to stay.
Welcome to Tell a Story. I'm on location here in Fort McMurray. I'm Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is my co-host,
Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. And this is...
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, poet, writer, and mixed media artist.
Great. So thank you so much for inviting us into your home, Jamal. And we're excited to learn about your artistic practice and showcase some of your work. Our first little segment we call our icebreakers. Mm-hmm. And with that, it's just to get to know each other, kind of outside of our creative fields, maybe, if we like cats or dogs or whatever and all that stuff. So we'll have a nice conversation. We'll play some games. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, the first thing we do is a little bit of trivia. How are you at trivia?
I'm not sure. I've never done that before.
You've never done any trivia?
Yes, yeah.
Ever?
I think so.
You're not missing much.
Can't remember.
It's okay. I'm not a big trivia person either, but we thought it'd be fun just for people to learn a bit about the places that we go, about Fort McMurray. So we'll ask people some questions. So I will ask you the first question. This one's about the census, because I know that you have a cat and I have many cats. This is about pets. So apparently I found this out by looking in 2025. They did, for the first time, included pets in the census, like how many pets people have. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I had to read through it. It's very, very fascinating. I made a question out of that. So they say 100,000 people live in Fort McMurray. That's what they said in the census. Out of that 100,000, like how many pets do you think were reported across the municipality? And I'm rounding to the nearest thousandth. So if you had to guess, multiple choice, is it A, 10,000 pets out of 100,000? Is it B, 18,000? Is it C, 24,000? Or is it D, 51,000 pets?
That's a fun one.
Right?
I'm going to just take a blind guess at 18,000.
18,000, you're right.
Yeah.
Let's give you a pet. That's
And make it 18,001?
The actual answer was 18,395. I thought that'd be too many numbers to remember and for you to keep in your head. I thought that was a little low. I thought, 100,000 people. You have a cat, I have cats, like you see people walking their dogs.
Yes,
right? It's like
multiple pet households.
So I don't know if they're like counting that. I don't know. I didn't do the census, but I thought it'd be higher. But fun fact, I took note of how many animals some of them were. So rounding, there was 11,000 dogs, 6,000 cats.
Oh.
More dogs than cats.
Yeah.
200 rodents, and 18 horses.
Oh, wow.
So I don't see any horses around yet, but people walking them.
You have to go down Draper.
That's
to see
where the horses are?
Yes,
Okay,
that's where the horses are.
Nice. Good stuff. You got it right, so that's awesome. Next I'm going to throw another trivia question at you from Daniel about Fort McMurray.
Okay.
All right, Jamal, here's my trivia for you. In 1870, Fort McMurray was originally established as a home for what? A mining foundry. B, a Hudson's Bay Company trading post. C, the Molson Coors Company headquarters. Or D, all of the above.
I'm going to say Hudson's Bay.
You got it right.
Oh, I did. Oh my goodness, I'm good at this. I should have tried it before.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Great. 2 for 2. That's awesome. So next we're going to have you ask us some questions.
Okay.
We prepared some questions ahead of time about each other. So I will have you ask the question about Daniel for me, which is the smaller piece of paper.
Okay.
So you'll be asking me a question about him. We will see how well I know him.
Okay. The question is, I have hosted several poetry workshops for youth. Daniel performed at a youth poetry slam during high school in Calgary, but what public figure was in attendance? A, professional actor Nathan Fillion. B, pop star Tate McRae. C, former Mayor Nahid Nanshi. Or D, professional singer, songwriter, and actress Jan Arden.
Wow, those are many people, 2 of which I know who they are. That is a very random fact that has not come up on our drive. I feel like it would be either, I don't know the first 2, either Ned Ninchi or Jan Arden. And I feel like it's more likely to be Ned Ninchi because it's Calgary. But Jan Arden might have been from Calgary. She's from Alberta. I'm going to go with my gut and say C, Ned Ninchi.
You're right.
Yes.
You have a good gut.
Yeah, that was just a pure guess because that has nothing to do with
deduction.
Life.
The art of deduction. That's what you did.
That's what I did. It's pretty great. good. I got it right this time. All right, so now we have a piece of trivia that I wrote about me for Daniel. You can ask him.
All right, Daniel.
Let's see what I wrote.
My artistic practice revolves around writing poetry. When Michael was young, he thought he might want to write short stories. What item did he buy in order to be a better writer? A used laptop computer, a leather-bound notebook, a custom ink pen, a vintage typewriter.
Ooh, I feel like it's either B, the leather-bound notebook, or D, the typewriter. I know Michael loves analog things. Because it has to do with writing. I'm gonna go with D, the typewriter.
You're right.
Yes.
You're on a spree of some
Yeah,
kind.
we're doing great. It was in Underwood. I got it at a thrift store. It was great.
That's amazing.
It's hard to find ink, but yeah.
It didn't go on a ribbon?
It was on a ribbon, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is a while back.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. Yeah, but that was my little typewriter. It had a little case,
So,
kinda
yeah.
like yours, but
Yeah.
different. Yeah, so
That is so cool.
never used it much. but
Serves its
aspirations.
purpose.
Aspirations.
Do you still have it?
No.
Ah,
I got rid of
okay.
it many years ago, sorry. Nice. Wow, we're doing great with the trivia. All right, so our next game is called This or That. And we have these little questions we pull out of this hat, and it's just two things, coffee or tea, cats or dogs, and we all discuss it. I guess you asked me a question, so I will ask you a question. So you can pull it out.
Okay.
Or whatever. We're all going to answer. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
this a question?
Yeah, you're going to ask me.
I'm going to ask
and
you.
we're all
okay.
going to answer anyways.
Ooh, this can take us on a deep dive. Ask for forgiveness or permission.
Yes, the great this or that question. Yeah, generally I would be a ask for forgiveness type of person.
Yeah.
Depending on what the context is, but like I get away with a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, oops.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah, how about
I
you?
thought it was cat or dog.
Right? Not yet.
It could be 50-50 for me depending on context and the person.
Sure.
Sometimes it's best to just move on. And sometimes if that person is somebody that you want to keep in life, you ask for forgiveness and then move on.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, all right, great. We'll also ask Daniel his opinion, how he feels, generally asking for forgiveness or permission.
I would say generally I would ask for permission, but again, I think it depends on the context quite a bit. But I think that's the way I would generally lean. So,
All right, nice. Maybe we should be more specific with our this or that questions. Like,
That was a heavy one, right?
yeah. If we had a more specific context of like, what would you do in this situation? Maybe they would be easier to answer. All right, I will pick one. Oh, I'm so confused by these right now. I'm picking and then asking you this one. Swim or suntan? What would you rather do?
Oh, goodness. That's a fun one. I don't know how to swim.
Oh.
So that is out. And I don't suntan because I don't need it.
There we go.
I was
Neither.
born with one.
There we go. You just never learned to swim, hey? Like,
We just never did. I tried actually 10 years ago or so. It was just, as an adult, it's just, it's a very different fear to overcome. So, and you have a choice because you are a land animal. So you have a choice. Why would you? So.
Did that ever like limit you in your activities?
Sometimes it does, but then we find other ways to be creative, right? Yeah.
Fair, yeah. If you're not too close to an ocean or something, you're probably all right.
Yeah. Brown people do burn. That's a misconception that we don't, but we do burn. So we do use sunscreen to keep our tan and not burn like a brownie, a burnt brownie. Yeah.
Great. Now I know. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I would say generally swim. I'm not much of a just sit around on the beach kind of person. I'd rather be in the water, playing around.
Yeah.
Do quite a bit of hiking in the Rocky Mountains. And any chance I get, if there's a lake, I'm going in.
Yeah.
Nice cold mountain lake is always refreshing. So.
Yeah, I do wish.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess with that, you don't have to like swim because not, usually it's quite cold. So it's in and out. You could try it sometime. Daniel, do you like to suntan or swim?
I would say I think I'm on the precipice of leaning towards more suntanning and just hanging out. But my brother was like the swimmer in our family, so I'm not a strong swimmer. So I think I would actually go with suntan at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, nice. Good stuff. Yeah, no wrong answers. We're just learning. We'll do one more, and then we'll move on to our tumbling towers. So you can pull one out of the hat.
All right. Ah, that's a good one. Book or movie?
Okay, so again, we have very little context with this question. Let's assume, look, I'm going to give some context here. Let's assume it's like the book or movie version of the book, maybe.
Let's do that.
Because I could be like, because I
Let's
can go
tackle
both.
that.
It could be like, I like to read a certain nonfiction book, but I also love watching films, so I couldn't choose. So I'm going to say, I guess, yeah, I don't read any sort of fiction books, so I would probably watch the movie.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, it's just what I like. So that would be my answer.
Yeah.
How about you?
I wish I could say book because I'm a writer and I was an avid reader a couple of decades ago. And it's just like life just changed and what it looked like on a daily basis changed. So summertime is the only time when I actually get to pick up and finish a book. I wish I could say book, but watching a movie is so much easier and faster. So I do tend to succumb to that.
Okay, yeah,
the movie
fair.
it is.
Yeah, it's all good. One more time, we'll throw it over to Daniel. Book or movie?
I think we're all movie people here right now. I wish I could say book just because I think I should read more, but I think I would just enjoy the movie more. So that's where I'm at.
Great. All right. We're all alike. Awesome. All right. We'll move on to our last game called Tumbling Towers. And have you played Tumbling Towers before?
I know the concept.
Yeah. Good.
But
so no. All right. You haven't played it.
No.
All right. 2 new things today. That's great. It's very simple. The point is to pull out these tiles and not make it fall over and put them on top. We don't usually pick from the top 3. But other than that, you can poke around and it's all good. Okay. And of course, as you would have seen by watching our other episodes, these all correspond to an open-ended question. Like, what's your perfect day look like? Maybe that's one of them now still. Okay. Yeah, so let's see. You pulled the paper, I think. Maybe, it doesn't matter. I'll start.
Okay.
Ooh, that one's, nope. And if you start pulling one and you don't like it, just stop. You don't have to commit. Number 11. Ooh, what is number 11? What impresses you?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. I have to sit back and think about this.
I feel like we can go first if you need to.
Sure. Why don't you go first?
What's something that impresses me? Many things impress me. But I guess if I had to pick one general one, I would say, like, I'm not super musically inclined. My family, my brother and my dad both play instruments. And so anyone who can like play an instrument and sing at the same time, or play with other people. My nephew, he's 19 right now. He's very much into jazz. He's good at it. But it's like, how do you like play jazz with someone else and you're all like improvising and like, so anyone who can do that, super impressed because I don't know how they do it. So that's something that impresses me. Do you need more time?
No, I think I was starting on that path. It's a little bit more intangible, but people's journeys. Okay. Like sometimes, like every time you meet somebody new, you kind of get a snippet into their lives, and sometimes they start to open about where they started and where they are now. People's resilience and courage impresses me in whatever area.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Maybe we'll dig into some of that with our interview or showcase. Okay. And I'll throw it over to Daniel. Daniel, what's something that impresses you?
Yeah, I think mine's a bit more abstract as well. The first thing that came to mind was just like when people can be like kind and like engaging and warm and make people feel welcome. That's something that really impresses me when I see that out in the world. So that's what impresses me.
Great, nice. All right, your turn to pull out a tile and we'll pick a question.
49.
49. Oh, yeah, I like this question. What are you obsessed with?
Oh, goodness. I wish I could say something healthy and creative, but it's not going to be that. Netflix and Asian dramas. Okay. Specifically. Yeah. I'm obsessed with them. That's all I have on my Netflix. Yeah. My channel looks very different from my husband's.
Just binging, eh? Yeah. Yes. Is there a certain show you're enjoying right now?
I just finished a K-drama, which is a Korean drama. My Royal Nemesis. Okay. Yeah.
What do you like about that show?
Great acting, and it was again people's journey. So this was particular actor. This is his first time being the male lead, and he did a phenomenal job. So I've seen him in other areas, in other shows where he was the second lead or someone in the background, and this was his first gig where he really knocked it. Like he got the opportunity and knocked it out of the park. So it's really good.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, nice. I'll throw it over to Daniel this time, just to throw him off, maybe. Daniel, what are you obsessed with?
What am I obsessed with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think lately, I think I'm going through like a very big like decluttering and like streamlining of life and things
Nice.
and what's really important to me. And it's a journey, of course. It's not like I'm doing it in a day, but I think that has been over the last like year for sure. That's probably been something that I've been fairly obsessed with. So yeah, decluttering and organizing my life.
It's a good thing.
Could be worse, yeah.
All
Could
do
be
that from time to time.
obsessed with something more negative, and yeah, that's a healthy obsession. Yeah, because that's actually why I like this question that I put in here.
It's a good one.
It's like often obsession is related to like a negative thing, but
Like a
it can be
negative
positive,
connotation.
right?
Yeah.
In a positive way, you could be obsessed with decluttering. I mean, that could be extreme too, but that can be a beneficial thing. For myself, I like to build things a lot, and I always get like, if I have this idea to like build something, I just get like really obsessed with that thing until I've built it. So one example, recent example, I drive a small Honda Civic, and I thought, what if I just like took my passenger seat out because I don't have to have passengers, and I decided to like put a bed in there for like camping.
Wow.
And so I thought, how can I like fit a bed into this Honda Civic, like laying lengthwise from the bumper to the hood?
Fun.
Yeah, and so like, I was just like, what can I do and what do I need and get this, and then yeah, so I ended up building like a wooden structure, and then I had this like foam cushion that I had around from a previous project. And
Oh,
I was like
wow.
cutting out the spots where like, because I took out the back seat too, so I could fit, and that's all I could think about until it was
wow.
done, and then I finished it. So now
No, that's impressive.
yeah, now I could just let it go.
Yeah, things that I cannot do or fathom myself doing. It's impressive.
Yeah, that's just what I like to do. And I find I'm just like, stop sleeping, and I just get a little obsessed. All right, we have time maybe for one more.
Okay.
I think you pulled the last one, so I'll pull this one last one. Oh, this looks real loose. Number 24. 24. What have you tried that was difficult?
Oh, goodness. So many things. So many things in life. Well, at first, and everything was difficult at first. So writing poetry 6 years ago, 8 years ago was really difficult. Publishing my first book 5 years ago was really difficult. It was difficult until I did it, right? So everything and anything. Most recently, collage work. So I am dabbling into collage and found poetry. And initially I was like, I'm not a visual artist. I don't know how to cut paper. I didn't have a cutter or the right tools, and I was using scissors as knife. So you can imagine. So everything in its beginning was difficult.
Fair, that's fair, yeah. What's something that I've tried that was difficult? Yeah, I do rock climbing. And so there's like even the rock climbing gym, there's different like levels. And recently I was trying like the hardest, like the black level. And I knew that I probably couldn't do it because there's a lot of skill involved. But I got further than I thought I would, and it was very difficult. And they all look the same basically. It's like, oh, there's a bunch of little holes on the wall, but once you get up there, it's like it's crazy how much more difficult they can make it. So that would be my answer for today.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw it over to Daniel if he has tried something that he found difficult.
Yeah, I think like the first thing that came to mind would be like stage combat. Just because it's like you're working with weapons, and the point of it is to make the violence look real, but ultimately safety comes first. And so I think that can be difficult. And just like working with different bodies and in space and different weapon types, and yeah, so that's something that challenges me for sure. So that would be my answer: stage combat.
Great. Variety of answers. I love
it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, yeah, I guess that's all the time we have for this segment. So it's been fun to play some games and get to know you, Jamal. Yeah, so this has been Tell a Story Hive on location in Fort McMurray. I'm Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is my co-host,
Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. And this is
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, writer, poet, and mixed media artist.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome to Tell a Story Hive on location in Fort McMurray. I'm Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is my co-host,
Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. And this is...
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, poet, writer, and mixed media artist.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed our little icebreaker segment and getting to know each other. And yeah, this segment we kind of call the interview. And
Okay.
yeah, really, we're curious to learn about artists' journeys, because as you mentioned in the icebreaker, people's journeys are very interesting, and
Yeah.
everyone has a different one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like to just talk about that and
Okay.
learn about that. It'll be a good conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess my first at the very top, just kind of asking, tell me about your creative practice. You mentioned it here, but what do you do?
I am a poet. I have been writing as a craft, seriously, for 6 years now, 6-7 years. But I started writing in high school and then stopped for 20 years. And then I picked up the pen again during COVID, when a lot of creative practices kind of came back in people's lives. when we finally had the time and no expectations to be met. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's
a
what
great
happened.
nutshell. Very succinct. I like it. That's great. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, so you're writing in high school. Like, do you remember what sort of stuff you were writing?
I do remember my first poem was called "The Salmon." And it was about the journey of a baby salmon of the stream and then to adulthood. And I wrote it, I think when I was 2021. It was just like a very small group of students who participated in this poetry competition. That was the first poem I wrote, and I actually won the competition. And all my teachers said I had something that I should harness and discover and hone. But this was like the late 1990s, and I was growing up in the Middle East with South Asian cultural background. Poetry had no room in my life at that time until I was an adult, confident enough to take that charge and say, no, it belongs in my life. That happened when I turned 40. So another 20 years passed. And I didn't pick up the pen to write creatively until 2020, March 2020 to be specific.
Okay, so what happened in March that led to you picking up that pen?
The whole world remembers this as COVID-19. Job was minimized. Everybody was home. All of a sudden, we have so much time on our hands and nothing to do. But we were still comfortable within our homes. And within our homes, we had everything that we needed to survive, pretty much. So one of the greatest things about writing is you don't need a lot of tools. You already have a pen and paper pretty much accessible to you. So I started writing. And to this day, I write with a pen and a paper predominantly. Like my whole book was written in handwriting. It was handwritten first. And then I typed it. When I eventually decided that this is a manuscript, then I typed it. But it sits in form of a notebook. Everything that I write is in paper. Yeah.
And what is it about writing on paper?
Yeah, there's something very special about it. Like and scientifically, it's proven that it's more healing and it opens up different channels in your brain. It's just the muscle memory of writing and does something that opens up stories in your brain. And most of my writing is it's very autobiographical. All my poems tell stories, well, not all, or most of them, tell stories from my childhood, my adolescent years, my transition from I have lived in 3 different countries in different phases of my life, 2 different continents, things like that. So I pick up stories from different times of my life and put them in poems. So writing with your hands open up one story after another. And there is a scientific reason behind it. That's why younger people or youth are told to write more in form of journaling, in sessions with their counselors and things like that.
Yeah. Is that be something maybe that is less and less common, possibly?
Yes, that is another thing. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was actually, it took me a couple of years to realize that most writers actually type their poems or their manuscript, because I just thought everybody wrote with a pen.
Yeah, I figure like some poems are short, so maybe you could still write them. Okay, yeah. What was that like for you? You've now picked up the pen. It's 2020. Yeah, what was that like to start writing again after 20 years?
I didn't know I was writing poems. I just wrote something every day in a notebook. And most of them, like I mentioned, were stories from my past. And I think after 20 days or so, or a month or so, I realized every little story looked like a poem, because I write in short poem format. I'm inclined towards that. It's an exercise and very challenging for me to elaborate on it. But again, to improve your craft, you have to try different things and push yourself over your comfort zone. So that is something I have tried over the years. But initially in 2020, every page was like 4 to 8 to 10 lines. And every little snippet sounded like a poem. So I carried on with that practice till May. So from March to May for a couple of months. And then I was like, do I have a manuscript in my hand? Because I think by then I had 50 poems or so. And again, because I had the luxury of time and mental space and capacity, I started looking into where can I submit this, who would pick this up, and very quickly realized because COVID had shut down so many businesses and paused a lot of industries, similarly publishing. It was on my shoulders to decide if I wanted it in print, and I decided I wanted it in print. So I taught myself how to publish a book. So I compiled my now handwritten poems into a digital format, and looking at reviewing and looking at publishing tools online, many YouTube tutorials online. I taught myself to publish my own book. And I did by November the same year.
Yeah, that's a very fast timeline.
It was a very fast timeline, and I couldn't believe that I did it. So yeah. And
what made that come out so quickly?
I think it was always meant to be, and I was just sitting on this book for 20 years because I never channeled it out. I didn't give it the opportunity to come out to the world. And once I opened that door, it just came like the flood of a book came out. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. And what was that like to publish that book?
I mean, I still look back and I'm like, I still can't believe it. I just had a vision and I ran with that vision. I had a vision of my name on the spine of a book. And even though my first book is very thin and it has a very long title, longer, I made sure that it was enough. I wrote more poems because I wanted my name on the spine of the book to make sure that it had enough pages that the spine could accommodate the title and my name. That was the vision that I was after. And then it opened up a chapter in my life that I never saw was going to happen. I mean, it was a wish that I lived with for many, many years. And then it finally became a reality. And it was out in the world. And all of a sudden, it took me even like another couple of years to finally call myself a writer. All of a sudden, I was a writer and people were reading my stories. I was like, this book is out in the world and I do not want to know about it because it's very wonderful. Being an author is very wonderful. Even when you're writing fiction or short stories, there's something about the author's lived experience that shows up very strongly in the book. Writers write what they know best, which is your own lived experience.
But yeah, obviously that would be much more vulnerable. Especially if that was your first book and all those personal stories. So, that's interesting. And we'll definitely get into like some details during the showcase. Maybe you read a few pieces or something. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the poetry. But yeah, I guess what came next in your creative journey?
So 2 years passed to 2022. Everything was online. So we had an online virtual book launch. I did work with a very close friend of mine, Hira Noor, for creating illustrations for the book. So she has actually created 20 or 21 original illustrations, like pencil illustrations that are included in the first book. They're kind of like every 2 or 3 poems later. It's like it's almost like an art book with poetry. So it was a joint collaboration, and I didn't feel as alone as authorship is. It's a very lonely process, but I didn't feel as alone because I had another artist working beside me. And how we worked together was I would write 3 or 4 poems and I will send it to her, and she would create something that inspired that image. And sometimes it was vice versa. She would create something and I would take that and write a few poems around it. So I do have a couple of favorites in that book if we ever get a chance to show you. But anyway, so that was the journey. 2 years later, there was not much public engagement because of COVID. We were still right in the eye of the storm. In 2022, finally, Arts Council was able to have their Arts Awards returned back, which is enduringly called the Buffies. And I was nominated. I was nominated the previous year as well in 21, nominated in 22, and I won. And all of a sudden, I became known as a poet. And I'm like, there's no turning back. I guess I'm a writer. So I want to give where the recognition is due that Arts Council was the first institute or an organization or a group of people who recognized me as a writer, which I didn't even see myself as at that time. So I finally found a home, or my book found a home, my work found a home with that. That was pivotal in my journey. And then I just kept going.
And what'd that feel like to have that recognition from the Arts Council?
It was a very big deal. It was very big deal. And then, like I said, I had launched myself as something that, you get it, and you're like, what do I do now? Like your questions, like what now? I think after the first book, I was dabbling with that question. I sat with that question for the longest time. What now? What now? Do I keep writing? Is there another book on the horizon? I don't want to rush into another book. That was also something I knew, because the first book had enough and had not reached the potential of its audience because of COVID, that I believed that it had a couple of more years in it. More could be done with the work that I had put in the first book. So I dabbled with that question, and I struggled with that question a lot. And once there was an award attached to my name, I was like, okay, what can I do with it? So I actually sat down with Louis at that time at Arts Council, and I asked him all these questions. Where do you see me going? And it was like, where do you want to go? And I had no idea. In 2022, I had no idea where I saw myself or my journey going. But having that conversation with somebody who can help me navigate my own question really helped. And there were avenues that he suggested, or Arts Council suggested, that I have finally taken a step towards, and now I'm seeing success in. So it's been 6 years in making. I can't believe I'm sitting here and talking about the 6 years of my journey, because there was a time when I was like, I have started writing a book, and all of a sudden it's 6 years later.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you would seek that counsel from the council. To get some feedback and some ideas. Was that in that process as you're going along? I mean, it's maybe easier now, but you talked about like, am I a writer? And now I've won this award. When did that start to change for you, that you felt more like a writer?
Definitely more like 3 years ago. I was like, like I said, there's no going back. You own it. Just own it and live with it. You already are. This is also something that a lot of artists struggle with, regardless of what area they practice in. We are the last ones to embrace who we are. We struggle with imposter syndrome, judgment, others people's validation. But the thing is, you have to validate, you have to see yourself first and then show it to people, because people are going to see what you see yourself in. You reflect who you are to others. And ever since I started to embrace that title of an author, people started to take me as an author, and my work as legitimate. So yes, I kept growing in the way that I mentioned that my first book was short poems. That was something I wanted to grow in that area, like that. I wanted to write more stories and longer poems, because it allows you to go deeper in the subject. That was a critique or a feedback that I received. So I wanted to grow in that area. So I started to write and really pushed myself, because I'm somebody who is a minimalist. Or maybe scared to dig deeper, I'm not sure. And that is where I was. Like, it's a personal journey to write. And because it's so much closer to my own life, you need to be okay in a place with a story, your relationship with that particular story, to be able to invite the world in it, right? You can't, it's very difficult to put out a story which is very raw and still trigger you in ways that you don't want to be triggered, or you're not there yet, right? Because sometimes emotional triggers are actually good, because that brings some of the strength and the courage out as well. But I needed to know what stories I wanted to tell and what stories needed some time. So I took 4 years. 3 years later, another March in 2024, I had not stopped writing. I was still writing, but very periodically, pushing in that craft, writing longer poems, telling stories which were needed more digging. I realized it's been 3 years since my first book. And then I was like, I did not expect that. The 4 years is the duration I wanted between my two books. And of course, people who had read my first book kept asking for a second book. So I was like, I guess I'm writing a second book. So again, the same year, because now I had a craft and a knowledge of publishing my own book that I could invest in and use. I was like, I'm going to publish my second book this year. That was 2024. Not realizing that now I have a fully functioning job. COVID is somewhat over. Everybody has returned to work, and the same expectations or somewhat expectations of the world pre-COVID. And also a little bit of the publishing world had changed as well. So I actually still had to learn what had changed over the 4 years, but that was just a technical knowledge thing. So the second book came out in November 2024. And this time I went more vulnerable. I was braver with my stories. I worked with a Métis artist, Treasure. I owe her this title. The cover art was done by Treasure, amazing, talented artist. And the second book came out. That's, The Lavender I Lost. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was 2024. Yeah. November. Yes.
Yeah.
And this time I had a book launch.
Okay.
Everything that I could not do in 2020, I did in 2024 with my second book. Yeah.
It would have been, all locked down and everything earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what was that like to now have your second book out and now the book launch?
Again, it was everything that I wanted, because now I had a better knowledge of not just the craft, but also the industry. This year, I also applied for my first ever grant to invest in this craft, and I received it. So part of that grant went into the publishing of the book, the cover art, and the book launch. So everything that I wanted, like all the dreams that I had about a book launch, were fulfilled because of that particular grant. And that was through the regional municipality. It was a beautiful, quaint little event at a coffee shop, at a cafe downtown, November 24th, 2024. Everybody who mattered to the book and my journey was there, so it was very special. The cover artist, my friend who contributed to the first book, Arts Council's family, my other friends who I have worked with before or crossed paths with before, they were all in attendance, and we had cupcakes and chai. It was a really nice event that I hold very special in my memories.
Absolutely, that sounds lovely. Yeah. It sounds like I mean, it's impossible to say, but maybe that second one would have been more meaningful because you had the first one out, and maybe people knew you were a writer versus the first launch. Maybe even in person wouldn't have been as special. Maybe. That's great. Yeah, and if I'm correct on my dates, in 2024, you also were a juror on the Words in Motion?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
The library has a poetry competition called Words in Motion, which is cross-region. They knew of my work from my first book. So fast forward to 2024, and it was just a coincidence that it happened the same year that my second book came out. They asked me to be a jury on the panel, which is, I was one of the three for the region. I said yes, of course. Why would I say no to that? But I did not know you had to read 400 poems. 400? 400 poems.
Wow.
Across 3 different categories. So it was like 200, 300, 150, something like that. Wow. Yes, the first year was kind of crazy. I was like, I don't want to read another poem for the rest of my life. But it's a very well-received competition, and it caters a lot to the youth in the region, and our youth are so talented. I'm really sad about the fact that because there's no funnel for them to exercise further from high school in that area, that they decide to invest their resources elsewhere. So we lose so much talent because there's no bridge. Otherwise, the youth category was highly competitive. The most entries, the most profound poems versus children and adults, actually. And every year, and I was very fortunate that I was asked to return back as a jury for 2025 as well. So I saw the same stats in 2025. I think it was 300, not 400 that year. I was like, thank God. Thank God. I felt bad for not being able to do justice with each poem because they were so competitive, but they all, because it's a youth, they all needed some kind of a place or a channel to express that. And it still saddens me that we lose so much talent because there's no way to help them navigate that bridge into adulthood and help them keep writing. It's like my story repeating again. Like a high school student writes something and then doesn't for 2 decades or 20 years and then comes back to it remembering they wrote a poem in high school. Yeah. I wish I had an answer to that, but right now we haven't been able to find it. It's just the reality of our small region. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's good that you're recognizing that problem and hopefully addressing it in some way. And
yeah,
I guess for yourself, you know, you published the book and I guess the second book towards the end of that year. You're a juror in this writing competition. Yeah, I guess what did you like? How did being a juror in that first time, I guess, how did that change you as a writer?
Oh, wow. I was like, there's so much talent out there. Like, I need to do better. It opens your eyes to people's perspectives. And you learn by reading anyways. The writers are told to read as much as possible. Whenever we ask, how can we write better? The number one tip, and it hasn't changed in 30 years. I will tell you this. Like my high school teacher said that too, to be a better writer, read. To be a better listener, speak. Oh, I should add, I speak English as a second language. I do not speak English at home. So that was also almost like a self-conceived barrier with my first book. Who's going to see credibility in it, right? Things like that. But then, of course, again, going back to what I said, you have to attest yourself and see yourself as a writer before anybody else in the world sees you as one, because you mirror that effect. Anyways, coming back to my jury experience, I learn from their writing as well, because I like from a technical point of view, I'm like, oh, you could say this, you could address this, and it's very eye-opening and a little bit sad that a lot of youth are going through the same issues I went through as a teenager in a different part of the world, in a different continent, completely different culture. But if anything, it's worse. If anything, it's worse, actually. Yeah. And writing is perhaps their only way to say that. Writing is my only way to say a lot of vulnerable things as well. Because I can forget about it. I write it and I can forget about it. Well, not really, but in the time being, that's what it feels like. But writing is definitely a lot of times the only way we express ourselves. And I see that in today's youth in Wood Buffalo as well.
And I guess with that writing competition, like, is there an opportunity for you as the juror to provide some of that maybe feedback to the writers?
I unfortunately don't, because it's anonymous, and of course everybody is covered by the confidentiality agreement and everything, and it's a library-run competition, and I'm not a library worker, for example, so it's a different institute, and I don't have the luxury. I do not. I've asked. I've asked. But one thing that I started to do for just the community was offering poetry workshops. So at least I've been in Fort McMurray for 8.5 years. At least in 8.5 years, there have been very few writing opportunities. The library used to have a drop-in writing session, like a writing Wednesday, that kind of dwindled off because of low attendance. People write in spaces where they feel safe. So writing with strangers can come with a lot of fear. So I guess that's what happened to the Writing Wednesdays. So I started to offer writing workshops as part of Alberta Culture Days. I did that for a couple of years, both in 24 and 25. Again, funded by the Alberta Culture Days grant. That was really well received. Actually, the first one in 24 happened at the library with their partnership, and it was kind of like a big deal, held in the teen space upstairs in the library. So we opened up, we kind of just went into the teen space and welcomed anybody and everybody who would participate. And the age range was kind of out of whack. The age range was all the way from, I think the youngest participant came with her mom, because that's how young she was. I think she was 9, all the way to 60 or even 70. I had a group of seniors. I have done some senior workshops as well. So they're the sweetest. They kind of follow me in the community. There's like, okay, are you doing the next one then? We're going to show up. And I bet you they show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are your groupies.
Yeah.
Your biggest fans. Yeah. Yeah. And what was that like? Like you said earlier that like writing can be very isolating.
Yes.
Very solo endeavor. Yeah. What's that like to be in a room full of people who are writing poetry?
So with my first book, I felt very isolated, and it felt like I was the only one writing in the world, right? You have to go find your people. And I found them slowly and gradually. I found them within the community. There's a very talented group of writers in town. Some of us are poets, some of us are fiction writers, some of us are short story writers. Some of us, a few of them are coming from visual artists background to writing. Something that I have discovered is no artist is just one art form. Everybody dabbles into 2 or 3 art forms. You just claim one area as your primary practice, right? So I have found a really niche group of writers, and I'm very, very fortunate that we feel safe enough to share what we're doing, where our journeys are. But it took me 6 years to get here. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Because sometimes I trail off.
Yeah, I was thinking more like my understanding of those workshops is these are new writers, people who are learning to write poetry, right?
Yes.
What's that like to like be in a group with people who are this is fresh for them, it's new, things like that. You're now a seasoned author.
It's tough to teach poetry. I will tell you that. And maybe we can go into the visual piece after that, because in five out of the 6 years I've been writing, poetry is the most intimidating form of writing. Nobody picks up a poetry book when you go to the library. Nobody's looking for a poetry book unless it's an assignment. Or you're a writer like Jamal who needs to read poetry to be able to write poetry. It's very intimidating for people to come to a poetry workshop and write. And I saw that over the number of years and the number of workshops that I have offered. And it's not about the space not being safe. It's not about a financial barrier because these workshops are free. It's just a general concept. So over the years, I have tried to navigate it, even as my own journey as an artist. How can I make it more accessible? Poetry needs to be read. Poetry has made a comeback. But in Wood Buffalo, how do I change that narration, that ideology around poems, right? So I started to look into visual art forms. And you would notice that even in my first book, I had illustrations in it because I believe that the ones who come for the art would stay for the poems. The one who come for the poems would stay for the art. So one becomes the vehicle for the other. For my own self, I started to look into how can I elevate my poetry into a visual art form so it becomes more accessible for the ones who are really intimidated by words. And that was the most recent step that I have started to take just this year, in 2026. I started to practice collage with found poetry or blackout poetry. So blackout poetry was actually one of the poetry workshops that I offered, was one of the exercises, and it's the most fun one, let's face it. Because you already have a treasure of words. You're not coming up with new words completely on your own. So it's less intimidating. So that is where I am right now in 2026. After my 2 books, after riding high with my books and whatnot, I am moving into more visual poetry, which is a contemporary form of visual arts and poetry. In the United States, it's actually recognized as a literary arts. In Canada, not yet. There are very few artists who see found poems or blackout poems as primary practice. So I'm still on the hunt to look for artists who would be able to mentor me maybe, or help me grow in that area, or I will become one. Because that is what my journey has been like. Nobody's going to publish my book. I will publish it myself. I don't find open mics or dry open mics. I create them. If you don't find it, you got to do it yourself.
Do it yourself, yeah. I think we get along well, building stuff and do it yourself. Nice. Yeah, I think we're close on our time. I guess that's a good segue to one last little bit that I was interested in. Speaking of like what you're doing now, you did a workshop, residency rather, in New Orleans, right? Yeah, tell me about that.
My goodness, maybe we should wait for the second portion because this will just I will keep going on. In January, there was a change coming to my life. My contract with my paid employer was going to end in March. As soon as I received that information in January, I started to look into learning opportunities. Now, at 46, I am not going to enroll into an institute or go back to university. That is not I do not see myself in a classroom. And don't come back at me if next year you do see me in a classroom, because right now I was in that phase that I was like, I don't think I'm going to do that. I wanted to learn in other ways, alternative ways, right? Immerse myself in some kind of an art form and learn from people around me. I learn best from people. So I started to look into residencies, and I knew, like I said previously, I wanted to elevate my poems out of a page and see them on the wall. And I started to look into book arts, like book binding, carving shapes out of books, scrapbooking, making books themselves. I started to look into book arts, and I came across a residency that said exactly that, poetry x collage. I was like, I'm going to apply to this one because this is going to fit what I want to see my art form grow into. Fast forward 2 months later, I got in. I got a small subsidy for it as well. I was the only Canadian as part of the cohort in New Orleans as part of that particular residency. It was called Fragment as Verse on the Wall. So poetic verse becomes fragments of visual art on the wall. And we learned, there were 2 of us who were poets and authors, and the rest of the group was visual artists. So we were both coming from 2 very different backgrounds, but creating something very cohesive and learning. So this was more experimental art form. Southern United States is actually very rich in that area. That is also something I discovered. They're very much about experimenting, not contemporary, not modern, not antique, not vintage. It's about let's create something completely new and surprise the world. Yeah. So that was another pivotal moment in my life.
Yeah. And what was that like to be involved with that residency?
It was phenomenal. It was like nothing else in my life that has happened to me. Yeah, it just changed the trajectory of my creative process. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I think it's a good note to end off on.
Yes.
Maybe we'll learn more about that with the showcase, but I really enjoyed learning a little bit about your journey, Jamal.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been Tell a Story Hive on location here in Fort McMurray. I'm Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is my co-host,
Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. And this is
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, a poet and a writer and a mixed media artist.
Thanks for watching, and we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome back to Tell Us Story Hives on location in Fort McMurray. We're on Treaty 8 territory, Métis Nation Region 17. I'm Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. This is my co-host,
Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, poet, author, and mixed media artist.
Yeah, I love it. I thoroughly enjoyed your icebreakers and your interview with Michael.
Thank
and
you.
I'm super excited to dive into the showcase segment with you.
Okay.
And just dive in a little more specifically to some of your work here.
Okay.
And yeah, I feel like I would be remiss if we didn't get to it. So we're going to start with it.
Okay.
And it is your book, The Lavender I Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else can you tell me about like the process of this book specifically and compiling it?
I kind of addressed it in the previous sections. I wanted to write longer poems. Technically, that was what my motivation was, because that was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to grow as an artist, you have to address the challenges and the barriers. That's where the creative block happens, right? Like that's our biggest pet peeve, right? That's important to challenge. But creative blocks happen because there is a need to push forward, and because we're so scared. It's scary, right? For different reasons, we're so scared to push forward. So I finally wanted to take that jump.
Totally, yeah. And in your interview, yeah, you had mentioned just that idea of like talking about like triggers, and generally we try and stay away from things because you never want to like re-traumatize yourself. But you had just the way you phrased it was so elegant of like, some triggers, though, like will bring out your strength and courage.
Yes.
And so if you have some autonomy over it or how it comes out, how you approach it.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you were able to do that through this book.
I hope so, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think we have a piece that we could hopefully hear. And yeah, I think I'll just pass it off to you to read the piece at your own pace. Feel free to take a breath. And yeah.
Okay. This is called Spices. They were meant to be shared before they were capitalized. They were meant to be savored before they were colonized. Fathers nurtured them, mothers harvested them side by side. Before they were segregated, sons and daughters bathed in its scent before they were deemed unaesthetic and smelly. Cinnamon, cardamom, cumin, cloves, coriander, peppercorn, and bay leaves. Farmers massacred, families slaughtered, nations divided, cultures collided, generations misguided. Till now, we are undecided. To satisfy the palates of the Western elites, spices filled cross-ocean fleets, made way to Atlantic shores, only to be told we are not one of yours.
Yeah.
Heavier.
Yeah, I'm very happy to sit with that for a second. And yeah, I guess for yourself, what were some of the themes, if you had to try and articulate it, for yourself at least, because everybody will pull their own things out of it from their perspective. But yeah, for you, what were some of the main themes that you were really trying to interrogate?
One theme that keeps coming up in all my work, whether it's collage, visual art, or writing, is home and belonging. Identity, belonging, finding, redefining my own self. And in that journey, I go back to history. Because if you know, geographically, the area that I come from, Southeast Asia, has gone through multiple divisions and wars and migration in the last century. Then we come so far away from it. And the idea is that you leave that identity behind, but you never do. So for many decades, many of us live with this dual identity, not always feeling that pull. So with this poem, again, identity and belonging shows up, but in a historic perspective. So our spices, Indian spices, is what colonizers came for. And then this debate on everyday conversations with me, I've been in Canada for 20 years, but still I have these conversations about hot and spicy and what spices and what not spices, and very, very few people understand the spices as they are. It's either hot or not hot, which is not spicy actually. It's just the heat of the flavor. So those conversations have fed, somewhat influenced this poem, but I addressed it from a historic perspective. I do sometimes talk about colonization because South Asians still grapple with the impact. I'm a third generation, I would say, settler. I come from two generations of refugees. Both my parents were refugees, born in one area and then forced to leave and then grew up in another country. My grandparents also born in one country and forced to move and then live in other countries. So we come direct descendants. We, all three of us, have three different countries that we come from. I envy people when they talk about heirlooms. I envy people, indigenous people, when they talk about their relationship with the land. I'm just still trying to understand my relationship with the land. It has a very different connotation. But you always need that hinge, and I use spices as the hinge to talk about some of those untalked about topics. You would never find this in a conversation with a colleague born and raised here in an Indian restaurant. I would only ask you, is it too hot for you? Do you want me to bring you more water? But that's about it. So my poems become an avenue for conversations that I would otherwise not have.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's absolutely beautiful, to be able to use them like that, and yeah, use them as a way to start that conversation. If nothing else, just for yourself. Like, yeah, that sounds really important. And yeah, the other thing I'm curious about just with that is it's just that idea of belonging, because I think it's so important, and especially in a country like Canada that is very diverse. And I just feel like there's more there around belonging, but I'm not entirely sure what the question is.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe it'll come up again in a second time. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you feel is really important to share about this piece?
I mean, I can read the title poem, like the poem that gave the title, the book, the title.
For sure.
It's a tribute to my aunt, actually. And again, direct read. It's a story from my childhood, or more my adolescent years. And I wrote this poem and left it. And I wasn't sure if I would add it to the book. And eventually, this was my way of remembering her. Okay. The lavender I lost. I lost the dupatta that she gave me, dripped in lavender dye. With just the perfect amount of rays, it would fly sky high. With her intricate fingers, she weaved hoops of crochet nets. Around all four borders, it lay gleefully across my chest. The first time I wore it was for my friend's birthday. By the time I returned, I was in utter dismay of the hoops of crocheted nets, or the deep mauves that soaked my sweat. Nobody thought anything of it, you see, because it wasn't trendy and it wasn't cool when I was a teen. Like a dethroned purple queen, the veil was shoved in Ami's dark closet, drapey, dingy, and depressed. To the housemaid at that time, it was given away in charity, whose teenage daughter probably also hated it, like its predecessor's legacy. Now that yard of lilac haunts me, for the fingers that weaved it so intricately can never crochet again because they have frozen indefinitely.
Wow. And what does that mean to you to be able to, commemorate and remember?
She was the first sibling on my father's side, my first aunt to pass away, my first aunt from both sides of the family to pass away. And the older three siblings were still alive at that time. And she went so suddenly that I started to think about life and people that we left behind by choice. And she was was in Pakistan. And I started to try to remember her. When was the last time I saw her? And it's been years since I had seen her. And then she passed away quite suddenly. We couldn't say goodbye. So this was my way of talking about this particular incident in my teenage years. Probably I was 14. Because it came rushing back. I thought I had buried this story and never thought about it for 30 years or something. But with her passing, this particular story that tied me to her came rushing back in my life. And then I tried to write about it, and this poem came out. It just came out. So this was, even though I'm talking about her passing away, I am immortalizing her in form of a poem, and let alone just a poem. I named the book after the poem, and the cover art is showing a veil, almost like passing through my fingers. This, by the way, is my hand. My amazing, talented cover artist, Treasure, actually photographed my own hand with henna on it, because she's like, Jamal, I need an image, and nothing on Google would work. It's all copyrighted. I was like, oh my God, what do you want me to do, Treasure? So I literally begged my friend at that time. She's in Edmonton now. So she put henna on my hands within a day of a notice, so Treasure could photograph it and then create a sketch out of it.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. Thank you so much for that insight there.
It is.
Yeah. And kind of harkening back to that idea of belonging and like finding your place, commemorating somebody like that. I'm just curious about, like, in your journey here in Fort McMurray. Yeah. It's like, do you feel like in what ways do you feel like you found a sense of belonging? Because it seems like you're finding the people. It seems like that's been a thing you've been pursuing. Yeah. And so it's like,
it's tough.
I don't know,
It's tough because you're questioning your identity and your place in a space constantly. And now that I've been here for that many years in Canada, it's very intersectional. You don't have to be a newcomer, an immigrant, or a refugee to feel that way. Any space will sometimes push you to question your belonging in that space. So it's the people that can make or break your experience. It's the people who make a space safe for you to be who you are. Belonging to me is feeling safe enough to be yourself. And it can be Canada, it can be Pakistan, it can be, I actually lived in Saskatchewan for 10 years before coming to Alberta. It could be Saskatchewan, and we actually look back to Saskatchewan as our home, back home. We still have friends and family here, and we actually visit Saskatchewan every year, once a year. So for some perspective, Saskatchewan is home away from home to us. And when people ask me, I have so much fun telling them that I'm from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I could listen to your life story endlessly. But in the interest of time, I do want to move along to this piece. Because, why don't you tell me about this piece?
This piece happened as a very fun little collage experience that I had. It was an ad hoc collage making, testing, experimenting experience at Arts Council in 25, I want to say, summer 25. I had never seen collage as a piece, a visual art piece that I would ever pursue. I will say this, I will admit, and I apologize to all the collage artists out there in the world, because collage was, to me, was like the least on the pyramid, or any tier, if there is any tier out there for visual art. I thought collage as the least. And then I think somebody out there in the universe was like, let me tell you what you can do with collage. So this was my first piece that I created ever in my life with collage. A lot of people that I have met, artists, would say that they have used collage when they were in high school. I did not go to a high school where there were art classes. So this, as an adult, was my first piece ever. And then my peer, my friend, my co-artist, Michelle, actually said, Jamal, you have something going on here. I was like, what do you mean? I don't see it. So it's always the other people who see something in you before you see it yourself. And then once they do that, then it's up to you to decide what do you do with it. Do you just put it in your back pocket and bury it forever, or do you run with it? I decided to run with it.
That's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. And that harkens back to in your interview with Michael, like in high school when you had gotten into poetry or tried your hand at it, you had people telling you that you have something there, but it wasn't until later in life that you came back to it. And for what it's worth, I'm so proud of you for doing that. Not that we know each other too much, but
Thank you.
there you go. And yeah, and I just love that, you just kind of went for it.
I went for it. And again, home and belonging. I'm always looking for a home. It feels like I'm like a vagabond, always looking for home. But then I found a little quote in a magazine that says, find a little joy. And that's what home is. And my joy is a cup of chai.
Nice. And you had chai?
Yes, my 10 minutes to myself. I love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, in the interest of time, I would love to move along. In your interview with Michael, you mentioned the residency that you was fairly recent. And yeah, I believe we have a piece right here from that. So I'm just curious about working with the artists you did in that context. What was that like for you?
It was quite eye-opening, and it wasn't eye-opening to the world, but for my own self, I was like, I did that. My hands were moving and they were doing things, and I had no context to it. Like the first day, it was like a week-long residency, the shortest a residency can be. The first day I was tying denim strips. I was cutting pieces I had no plans for. I was feeling feelings that I did not know how to package them. And it was so short that I didn't have the luxury of time to sit with it and just delve in it. There were no nature walks in it was a very urban, there was an urban setting residency. It was also a group residency, which actually I wanted. I was like, I live in a forest. I need to go urban to learn something different. This piece is called Grief. The piece that I cut out was from a photography art book. And I have used painted paper. And this is, it started off as a journey that a person takes between life and death and after death. We as Muslims believe there's a life after death as well. But this piece is also, it's mostly talking about the different phases grief takes. First, it burns like fire. It happens, then it burns and it hurts, and something beautiful comes out of it eventually. Also, this is attributed to a friend actually that we lost the day I was leaving for the residency 2 days before in a car accident. So I traveled to that residency sitting with a lot of grief. And my husband actually, he was in Toronto at that time. So my husband actually went to attend his funeral in Toronto, but I had to make the choice of going to the residency. So that very, very difficult choice I had to make. But I also wanted to, again, something very similar to the Lavender I Lost. I still wanted to give it a space and attribute that to him, because grief also has a belonging in our life, and something beautiful comes out of it. I do believe that. So this last silhouette is filled with line art, which is something that you will see in pretty much all of my visual artwork. Also something that my cohort and my director said you should keep pursuing. So I will see where it takes me. But this piece was very heavy when I made it, but I see a lot of healing coming out of it.
And yeah, kudos to you for carrying that weight and finding a way to express it and like transmute it. I guess that's incredibly important work. So I'd say thank you for doing that. That's amazing. And yeah, just in the interest of time, like there is just that idea of, I want to harken back to just that idea of like collage and how it was kind of like an unsuspecting thing that kind of came into your life and journey. And the thing that comes to mind for me for that is like curiosity and staying curious. Does that resonate with you, or can you speak to that at all? Or?
The motivation, I will go back to, I think I said that in the first segment, was to make it more accessible. I want people to see the strength of a good poem, but somehow I needed to make it visual and visible and accessible to the people. And that's why I was looking for a visual vehicle. But I was doing it for the people, but it did something bountiful for me. So I'm on this journey. I don't know where it would take me, but a poetry and collage journey is pretty much in the next couple of years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And yeah, I'm so excited to see where that takes you. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
me too.
Awesome. Well, this has been incredibly insightful. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for doing this.
Awesome. This has been Tell Us Story Hives on location in Fort McMurray. I'm Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker based in Lethbridge, Alberta. This is my co-host,
Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. And this is
Jamal-e-Fatima Rafat, poet and writer and mixed media artist.
Woo! Thank you so much for watching.